I'm voted affirmative. I think that y'all had a bad strategy choice. I kind of don't understand why you didn't go for the K, because I kind of think in a big way they were losing on it, especially the framework. And I think that y'all were like, that's why I kind of thought that's why your ordering was like that when you were giving your speeches. I was like, oh, maybe this is the other way. In a world where I think that, I mean, these disadvantages that you have to the permutation, I don't think that they necessarily outweigh the advantages that I don't think that your counterplan solves for. And it's just like, I don't know, it's just weird to me because even in the 2NR, like, as like, I don't even mention like one of their advantages or a couple of them, and I'm just like, I mean, for me, you have to like explain just a little how you were able to access those at all, or to even say that they're like, they don't matter, or it's not a possibility of them or something, right? But at the end, I just really think that y'all were winning on a critique, and I just didn't understand why you didn't go for it, especially in a world when you asked him about, when your answer was about the military-industrial complex, and then he said, like, we're just doing the military part, not the industrial part. I don't, no, that doesn't happen.
What advantages do you think it didn't solve?
Venezuela.
I'm just curious why.
Because when I look at like the solvency for your counterplan, it's like really generic. It's just like, you know, I don't think there was any level of explanation in the 2NR that like really told me how you solve for the advantages really much at all. And I think that probably needs to be there. I mean, if it was very small. Because in a world where, when you were, I think you were just talking about civil or crisis management, and then I was just like, I mean, are you going to talk about how the counterplan actually accesses those things or solve those? I mean, that just was kind of missing for me. Yeah.
What should have happened in the K in the 1AR that could?
I mean, I really don't think that you were offensive at all.
What about like the binarism term?
No, I didn't find that really persuasive.
What do you think would be better than the?
I mean, your framework against them probably had to be a lot more extensive and nuanced than what it was, because I really think, like, out of the block, they were winning this K, like, very embarrassing for you a little bit. But I just didn't understand your strategy choice with that, because they talk a lot of stuff. And even the framework-ish, well, your representation on the first arguments, I didn't say anything about it. Like, I was like, okay. So it was just weird to me that, I mean, that was the one that had, I think the K, like, all they really had was like some framework stuff that wasn't necessarily any real voting issues. It was just saying, hey, you should evaluate policy stuff. Blah, 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 and I see the political stuff. I don't see how you do that, because I think that your criticism was questioning a lot of the political implications of their stuff. That's why I wasn't necessarily buying that argument that it was dropped, because I don't think it was. But I was just confused a lot that y'all didn't just sit on that in itself and then make fun of the framework arguments that they were making, because they just weren't offensive at all. And then y'all were also winning the I guess you would say, root cause question of a lot of, you know, their stuff in the ad. Like, and I was just like, why do you just go for that? I mean, I think your articulation was fine. Like, even with the economic linkages and stuff, I mean, I get that, that, you know, the military constructs threats in order to sustain their budget and all that other stuff. Like, I get that, how it feeds the military-industrial complex. I kind of think that in the block, you didn't even really have to go for anything else, because I think that, like, y'all's articulation was specific enough for me, at yes.
Well, like, how would the case solve for like?
I don't think that it solves the ad. I think it turns your ad.
But like in a world where like we win that Venezuela conflict is sparked by Chavez dying.
Yeah, I think those things are still falsely created threats in the world there and targeting the epistemology behind your advantages and your ad for itself. Because they're definitely saying, you know, the way that you represent these things technically is a lie. So I think you would need to have some offense against representations arguments.
Was the Cochrane evidence not like offensive enough?
If it was, the way that y'all spend it, it was not necessarily offensively framed. Because most of the stuff that y'all was going in on was like framework and see the political stuff. And at the point where I think they were engaged in these things, that don't think that y'all were winning this. And if they had went for that, and I mean, I kind of thought y'all were based on the order, but like I think if they had gone for that, I don't think there's anything to 2AC could say, like especially with trying to weigh your advantages, because I think they would just be winning the epistemological question that we shouldn't trust what you're saying.
What about floating fix theory? Because
I don't think they were trying to solve your act. They weren't floating that.
they said that.
Yeah, they were making that as an answer to one of the theory arguments, but they didn't say like we're going to go for it as a floating pit. I think in the end, if they were to go for this argument in the 2 and R, they wouldn't have went for it that way because they would just say that your act is bad and it's a lie. And I think they would say it turns case and not solve it.
How do you evaluate uniqueness of one solutions?
I mean, I kind of thought that somewhat, but I just think that the arguments were much stronger on their side when it came to other parts of the flow than on y'all's. Because I mean, sure, that argument is fine. And I did vote for you because I didn't think that the counterplan solved necessarily your advantages. I mean, and I guess the dissad is like, mitigating factor because of the uniqueness issues, but
so if we had more like in the 1AR more uniqueness analysis and link analysis, could that have assessed a zero risk with the design? Or?
No, I didn't really care about that. I think the problem that you were weak on was the K all around. Like, I mean, I think that you were like spending more time on these other things because you had specific evidence and you had some risk of like, solvency deficit, but I think you were just terribly losing on the K, just a lot. Like, I don't know. Like, I think that, like, if y'all knew anything about me as a judge and, like, my facial expressions when they were saying certain things, they were just like, you're kind of winning. Not kind of, you were. And I just think that just sit on it, like, be confident in these arguments. I mean, because you sound fine to me.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How did you evaluate the case arguments as opposed to the non-solving?
That became a little weird in where like you're saying like your counterplan solves the case. So I didn't understand how that really interacted. Like you probably need to spend more time explaining that. Like I think if you had kicked this K on top in an extra 50 seconds that you had left to say other stuff, could have been spent in these other places saying why you actually solved the advantages or accessed them in some type of way. That would have been better. Because I don't know, I just think the ordering was weird. Because if you weren't going to go for those things, I think you should have just kicked the K in the beginning and said F it, and then like spend more time concentrating on why you were able to solve the F. For me, but I kind of thought you were just going to kick all those things and probably go for the case arguments with the K, like with the 23-year refilling thing. Like, I mean, I think that would have been fine with the K stuff. I don't think it would have been a.
Well, I know, just voted on counterplan not solving Venezuela. I'm just not sure why they still get Venezuela the case arguments. Like, how should vote the case?
Yeah,
Only one for the crisis management.
yeah.
Leave it to them.
That's what I was saying. I mean,
Okay.